Welcome to Dare, the show for startup leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs who dare to shape the future. Dare is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN, and Darwaft, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare podcast is excited to welcome Gary June to the show today. He's the CEO of Surge Motion. He's an entrepreneur with 20 plus years of experience in data analytics and AI. He spent 13 years at IBM across engineering and sales roles. He has applied for and been granted 9 different patents. And now he has this great company that's really changing the face of healthcare for people of all ages with a special focus on gait and falling. So, welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to speak with you, Ned, and thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So you're the founder and CEO of Surge Motion, right?
I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm currently serving as CEO for Surge Motion. That's correct.
Okay. Well, tell us what your company does and why it matters.
Yeah, thank you. Our Surge Motion, we're really trying to tackle the big problems of falls in the elderly population. Falls actually is one of the leading cause of death and injury in the US. About 1 in 4 older adults fall every single year. And about 30% of those incidents will lead to hip fractures and head trauma. And when that happens, it's pretty serious. Well, someone with a hip fracture are 3 times as likely to die. And many of those falls can lead to mobility issues and loss of independence. And it's really expensive. It can cost a family an average of $30,000 to stay in the hospital from a fall. It's a real big health challenge that we're trying to address with technology. And
Yeah.
yeah, and one of the thing here is like there's decades of clinical evidence that shows that physical therapy can be a very effective way to prevent falls and reduce risks really early on. Things that can improve balance, mobility, strength, really kind of tailor to the individual's risk and specific abilities, can do a very, very good job of dropping those risk of falls. Some studies show that can be as much as like 45%. So it's quite an effective way of doing it. The problem is that being able to objectively figure out who is at risk and do that pretty early on can be very expensive and really inaccessible. A lot of our physical decline, like declining balance and declining strength, happens very slowly. It's almost like the proverbial cooking a frog in a pot, right?
Mhm.
Like, we lose our muscle strength from our 30s, and we lose our
Really?
yes, we lose about 1 to 2% in our 30s. So by the time we get to 60s or even in our like 70s, we can lose as much as 40, 50% of our muscle strength. And that happens slowly, right? Which is realize those things. And some of those changes are pretty subtle. And same thing with our balance abilities. Our
Mhm.
balance will start to decline in our 40s. By the time we're in our 60s to 70s, we can lose as much as half of our balance abilities. And that just happens really slowly. So a lot of these declines are quite subtle and we don't really notice them. And the current way of doing fall prevention is usually pretty reactive. Somebody stumble and fell, like, okay, I got a problem. But we try to capture that beforehand. And the really effective way of trying to capture that beforehand sometimes require technology to be able to spot a lot of those risk factors that are what I call hidden. So they're invisible to the naked eye, and they actually require very sensitive instruments from universities in research setting that are just really not accessible for a typical physical therapist or your primary care physician. Those types of electronic treadmills and balance systems can cost like $500,000, which is really not
Wow.
affordable for your typical PT clinic, right?
So you're not selling a product that cost $500,000?
No, I'm not. Well, that will be a different product market fit, right?
Right, right. So you're selling a system that actually helps people to anticipate and take care of falls before they happen, right?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
that's our goal. And it's what I call really a multi-tier approach. What we like to start with is to really work with physical therapists that are working with older patients, and then to be able to use a wearable sensor, just one wearable sensor, and then to be able to identify all these hidden declines in balance, in someone's strength, in someone how's walking, and then try to capture those risk profiles, and then have tailored therapy to address those things before they become a risk factor that would trigger a fall for the individual. So I'm trying to be really preventive and be really proactively preventive. It's really the goal of our platform.
Mhm.
It's really the goal of our product.
Yeah. So what brought you into this field? This sounds like you're solving a real problem for real people. How did you get into this?
Yeah. So when we got started, we're looking at how wearable sensors in smartphones can measure human body movement. Really looking at sort of a fitness, wellness type of applications. We're looking at how we can do gait assessment to make a better orthotics and better running shoes in a way. Because I'm a runner, and that's a very personal problem. And then
Mhm.
around that same time, my father-in-law has some health issues, and he was stumbling a bit. He had a couple near falls, and then he had an occupation, therapist coming to his home, which took a very long time to schedule and arrange for that person to show up. And then it took about an hour appointment to assess his mobility, assess his balance, how well he can stand up and sit down, basically looking at his leg functions and joint functions. And then that's just a very cumbersome process. They're also very subjective. They go through a lot of type of mobility tests. And we generally feel that, everything that's been done can probably be streamlined with technology, can probably be done much faster, much cheaper, and much quicker. Because just getting somebody out to your home, it's expensive. It just takes a long time to schedule. There's a lot of availability issues. So we
Mm.
thought there might be something here that we can use technology to streamline, since we've already been working on algorithm to do gait analysis. And that's how we kind of got started with you try to use technology to help older adults prevent falls. That's
Right, right.
the
So that
inception
gait
point.
analysis work, I know often people have used it in biometric situations. Like I know in one of the Mission Impossible films, it was
Yeah.
seen as a way to identify people and put a security wall up. But you're actually using gait analysis to detect when someone's gait is slightly off, right? To
Right.
help them to anticipate and then seek physical therapy so their gait can be corrected so they won't fall, right? I mean, it's really a
Right.
preventative measure.
Right, right, yeah, exactly, and that's kind of really our initial idea of trying to capture all those hidden biomarkers that can reveal gait instability, balance issues, and any type of anomalies in gait that then we can lead to additional therapy to be prevented. So that was very much the idea that kind of got me really interested. And there's also a personal angle where, my relative, my older parents are having these issues, and how we can use technology to solve those. Yes.
Great. So you kind of solved the personal need. You took care of your relatives' issues. And where's it gone from there? It's not just being used by your family, it's being used by many hospitals, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then so I think at any type of startup, we think we have a good technology, we think we have a good problem to solve. Then we got to find money and find funding and find ways to try to build a better product and try to get it into the hands of customers. So at the time, we were looking for any type of funding and grants. So we looked at SBIR, we looked at university funding, we looked at fundings from public and then also nonprofits to see what we can do. And it's also looking not only the US, but also worldwide. We look to Asia, in Taiwan and Hong Kong, because then there tends to be a lot more these funding and grants for working with the older population. And then we
Mhm.
were actually able to tap into some of those grants and funds in Hong Kong, and we're able to collaborate with local universities and sort of the nonprofits to help us collect the body movement data and also work with researchers and clinicians that has the experience, and then also just kind of teaches us what's really being done. I think my background is in software engineering and in data analytics before it's called
Yeah.
AI, and then like my co-founding team are physicists, data analysts. So we're not healthcare providers.
Yeah.
That gives us the advantage of we don't know what the boundaries are, right? So we can work outside
Yeah.
the box, which is also a double-edged sword because we don't know what the boundaries are, and some of these boundaries are there for a good reason. So
Right. Right. So a lot of learning happened. Right.
yeah, yeah.
It sounds like you have an incredibly sharp team. And you're currently in how many facilities?
Yeah, so in Hong Kong, we have about 100 plus customers. We're in 15 of the public hospitals,
Okay.
and then we will work with physical therapists, occupational therapists, and also nursing departments across those facilities. And then
Yeah.
we do work with a lot of nonprofits that have physical therapists on board. Recently, we're part of a project called Silver Connect in Hong Kong that's funded by DBS, which is investment bank out of Singapore, and they're looking to serve about 16,000 individuals, older adults via telehealth, and our platform is one of the product that they're deploying to these individuals.
Fantastic. Wow. That's really great. And so your hope, of course, is to provide a product that goes worldwide because you're kind of piloting it in Hong Kong right now. And then you're hoping to get into hopefully every hospital, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think actually the real goal is to get that into the hands of every single older adult
Oh,
worldwide.
right, right,
Um,
because it's not limited to a hospital. It's actually every older adult who is living, out in the world and being able to anticipate what might happen and helping them to have their health be in a good place before a fall, before they have to go to
yeah,
the hospital.
yeah. That's the real goal and dream of the company and of the team as well. And so one of our focus is actually getting back into the US market because that's where everybody really is at. So
Yeah.
it's where we're hoping to can make quite a bit of impact as well. So one of the things that we've done is we've got the technology ISO 1345 certified as a medical device. So going
Wait,
through
wait,
all of
wait,
the
wait. Hold your horses there, because you just said something. You just rattled it off, Gary, that you got it ISO certified as a medical device. That's not trivial, my friend. I mean, that's something that companies spend years trying to get. I mean, I worked at Intel and I know that Intel had some devices certified, but it took a huge team with a lot of effort. And you guys have actually done this.
Yes, we managed to do that. I think it took about I think it was like a 18, 20 months journey.
Yeah.
It is a good learning experience as well. And
Yeah. There's a lot of regulations that go into healthcare certified devices, and you actually have one that can pass that bar.
yes, and luckily for us, FDA had so FDA's medical device regulation used to be separate from the ISO process, and they've
Yeah.
actually recently decided to merge the process. So that also gave us an advantage to be a FDA listed medical device by getting our ISO certification. So that we're able to definitive say our US customers that hey, our device is FDA listed as a medical device as a class two, and we are qualified to be a Medicare reimbursable device that you can actually bill and get paid from using our service.
Wow, that's great. So you mentioned something in there. We talked about it. We glancingly referenced it. The fact that you actually have a device. So that means there's hardware. And so, but your team, I think, started with software and gait analysis, but then you had to kind of invent your own device. And from other conversations, I think you didn't really plan on creating your own device to start with. So tell me how you got into the device market. I mean, that's a whole
Yeah,
world, right?
yeah. Thank you, Ned. Like I'm a software guy, and
Yeah.
hardware is hard, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, when we got started with our gait analysis before, I think for the orthotics and wellness market, it was just to be a app on the phone because your phone has all the necessary sensors to do body movement measurements. When we started working with our therapists, when we started working with older adults, we very quickly realized that for one, with an older adults, they want their hands to be free to be able to support themselves in case that they fall. And they don't really want to hold their phone in their hand to do a lot of these measurements. And also, sometimes people just don't have a way to wear their phone all the time on them. And then also from the physical therapist perspective, they want something very quick and easy to put on the individual and to be consistent every single time. And usually, especially in the US, sometimes you have only half an hour with a physical therapist. If it
Mhm.
takes you 5 minutes to put a device on somebody, configure, ready to run a assessment or run a test, that's like 16% of the time that they have with the patient. So really actually from both the older adults and also the physical therapists that we work with, we quickly realized that this has to be a separate device that can be very easily put on the patient. So we put it onto a belt with a magnetic clip that literally just takes 5 seconds to put on and you're ready to go. And that's where really, we listen to our customers as much as I don't want to make a device. We really actually had to do one because that's really what our customers want to help
Yeah.
their operations.
So it's definitely a customer driven need. It wasn't like you just said, "Hey, we're going to create some fancy new Fitbit." You actually heard customers saying, "We need a purpose built device that has these characteristics." And you went and got it made, right?
Yes, yes. That wasn't what I, what I really wanted to go, but we do listen to our customers. And actually, I think that's a good way to give them a lot more confidence that we do actually listen to their feedback and we're trying to address their particular needs.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're well on your way to success. You have a hardware device that, again, let me emphasize, is FDA, ISO approved. It can be delivered to individuals and hospitals for use, like legally. And you have people actually paying you to use this. You've done this big pilot in Hong Kong, and it's beyond a pilot. It's actually being used by people. There are hundreds of people, and you want to go to the next level. So, what are your next steps in terms of growth?
Yeah, we really want to kind of take the clinical validation that we've done in Hong Kong, which is really having customers paying us to use the device and then having repeat customers, clinical clinicians. That really shows that our platform or product has clinical value. And then we want to expand to a much bigger market, one being the US, where our whole team is at. And we really want to show that one, not only do we have clinical values to the clinicians, providers in the US, and also that they can actually make financial return on these devices. So essentially, that means how well can they bill Medicare and insurance for reimbursements? Are there specific CPT codes? So that was our big item to do in the last couple of years, that we're actually being able to work with some of our early customers and early partners to validate, yes, they can bill Medicare and they are able to receive payments from both Medicare and also private insurance with Medicare Advantage when they use our devices, and also to show that the patients do see improvements in their outcome, right? So it's really just to say we have a good product that can be used to generate reimbursements via reimbursement, and then it's actually helps the patient outcome. And then now is the really next step for us is to how do we scale and grow out the business in the US? How do we identify and leverage our sales channels to then distribute out to more clinics, working with finding hospitals and finding senior care providers. So that's really our big goal.
Exciting. So if we start seeing, is it the Surge Motion brand that you're going to be promoting or a different brand?
Oh, it's gonna be the Surge Motion brand, and the product is called Aspire Motion. Um,
Okay. Fantastic. And where do we go to find out more about your product, about your company, maybe potential investors? Where would they go to find out more about you?
they can go to our website, surgemotion.bio, or they can just listen to your podcast.
Fantastic. Well, I just want people to be able to get in touch with you, Gary. You've built a great company, you've built a great product, and now you're poised for success. And so you're located here in Portland. I know that. And you've been at several startup events. That's how we met. I'm just curious, how have you found the Portland entrepreneurial community to be for you?
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about like I moved over from Southern California, and I got an offer from IBM to go to San Jose or to come up to Portland, Oregon. This was
Yeah.
probably good 20 plus years ago, and I came up here and just loved it here, right? And I always say
Yeah.
I've been looking at the entrepreneurial network in Portland, in the Bay Area, and also overseas in Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and I would say our local community is very supportive. Is actually extraordinarily supportive. It's a very tight knit community. I'm actually very proud and very happy to be able to be part of it, and very grateful for all of the support that everybody's been giving me. It's actually fantastic. It's really quite nice, and it's like I'm gonna just kind of spit side stories about being here in the Northwest. During the fall, we'll go chanterelle picking up in the forest in the
Oh,
coast,
yeah.
right? And so one of the really cool thing about chanterelle is that it is really a network. I mean, you can't really cultivate them. They need to be in the forest, but they need to be part of a network
Right.
that
Right. You
supports
can't like
them.
grow them like tomatoes, right?
Exactly, right? So to me, that's a perfect knowledge, right? I mean, we got to be here within a network and that supports each other to be able to grow fantastic mushrooms.
That's a really great metaphor. I love that. Yeah. Well, our last question is always, what do you dare to dream, Gary?
I dare to dream that everyone can live a very long, happy, active life. I think that's a hard problem to solve, and there's many ways of solving it, but just having long, fruitful, active lives is really what I dare to dream, and I hope that can happen to everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Gary. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my story.
Thanks to our guests today for their insights into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We wish you all the best in your startup journey. The Dare Show is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network and by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. Visit us at oen.org or at darwaf.io. Thanks again for listening. Till next time.